Hi, my name is Lee Jasper. You're watching the Lee Jasper interviews on MediaNet Live channel on YouTube. Make sure you push that subscribe button, make sure you like, make sure you leave some comments beyond this video. We've done a series of videos over the last week that are really talking about police accountability and the extent and the quality of relationships between the Metropolitan Police Service under the Commissioner, Cressida Dick, and the elected Police Commissioner, which is Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London. These two people are responsible for the Met, and we've had a series of interviews with Gwenton Slowly, Stafford Scott, Mohammed Ashi over in Lambeth, and Ken Hines in Tottenham over the last week, really commenting on the deterioration of that police-community relations. And I'm delighted to say that I'm joined again here in Walthamstow on this bright and lovely January day by my good friend Ken Hines.
Hey.
Because we've got some good news, Ken.
Yes, we have.
Oh,
yes, we have.
You may remember.
Yes, we have.
You may remember what happened to Ken, because it was on the previous videos. And we're going to put the links to the other videos underneath the screen as you watch this, so you can catch up on the background. But Ken, some great news yesterday. But first of all, tell the people who you are. You may not know. Who is Ken Hines?
Ken Hines, I've been at the forefront of community engagement, of trying to build safer and stronger communities for the last 20 odd years. It started from running a group, a carnival band that used to attend Notting Hill Carnival called Rough Diamond Entertainments. We became one of the largest children bands at Carnival, and you know that happened over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And what's transpired from there? The people that came along, be part of that Rough Diamond family, that Carnival band family, are still solid friends today.
Wow.
And the spin-off that came from that is like, for example, when people are having disputes, you'll find that we might know each other, they might know each other, and you can step in and you can resolve things without it escalating.
Squash the beef.
That's what it's all about. That's key to what I do. Key to what I do is actually work with young people to help them to develop to who they want to be, to the man they want to be, or the person they want to be in the community. And also let them know that we're all carrying trauma, and what we can project onto others, and the paranoia that can also bring about. All these things here work just to have people make better choices.
Yeah.
On the other side is that I also work to hold the police to account.
Right.
I'm a critical partner of the police.
I explain that because people don't understand. You're a critical friend and partner of the police. That means although that you go to the meetings, your job is ostensibly there to hold their feet to the fire, hold them to account, make sure they're doing the right thing. That's
absolutely right. Simply put this way, is to get them to do the job to the best they can and have greater transparency. Because at the moment they've got a machinery, and when you've got any kind of machinery, it's man-made, man will make it and man can break it. To another man, they can abuse it. Yeah. And unless you have put safeguards in place, and proper safeguards, then there's going to be a system which is going to be failing the community is purporting to serve.
So you've got a track record of 20 years volunteering. Nobody gets paid for this stuff. You know, we need to be clarify that on with you. You know, people do this because they want to improve relations in the community. Yeah, so they're not getting paid necessarily to attend these meetings. But you're also the chair of the Stop and Search group for British Transport Police. So not only have you got a track record in the community, not only a track record with the Met in relation to improving their accountability, but even with British Transport Police, you're the chair of the Stop and Search Committee.
Yeah, and it goes deeper into that. Not only the British Transport Police, come more locally in Harringay. Yeah. I've been the chair of the Harringay Independent Stop and Search Monitoring Group. Right. I've been the co-chair of the London-wide network, Community Monitoring Network Group that MOPAC set up. I sit on the Safer Neighbourhood Board, and I sit on the Home Office Stop and Search, Best Use of Stop and Search scheme. So it's lots of things that I do all around stop and search, because I know how important it is to change the narrative that we have around stop and search. Yeah. Simply that we know we've got a degree of disproportionately affected by the violence in my black community. Yep. But I also know that if you are not using stop and search as best as you can, as you should be doing, it can add to fueling the violence, but where the mistrust, and people will no longer come to you with the intelligence to help solve issues going on in our community, but to take the law into their own hands. that's what I'm fighting against, to stem the tide of more and more people choosing to sort their business out themselves.
Because, you know, the view of the black community is the police are unable to distinguish between the criminals, and there are some who do need locking up, for sure,
absolutely,
dangerous people, and our law-abiding citizens. As far as the police are concerned, we're all potentially criminal, we're all potentially superhuman. This story is going to illustrate it. Now, so you've got a track record which, for me, would deserve, I don't believe in OBEs and MBEs, but if I did, I think that you would be somebody who should already have one, such as your commitment to try and improve the situation. But something happened to you. A man of your stature, a man of your calibre, you had an incident with police. Do tell.
Yes, a day after my birthday,
which was when?
April the 16th, 2018, yeah. I happened to come across a young man being stopped and searched. Now, I've done this hundreds of times for the police and also for the community with it going unscathed. But on this occasion, things went very badly wrong.
So you stopped to observe a policing incident involving a young black boy and police officers.
That's correct.
Now that has been a right that we have secured since 1986. We've had this battle with police time and time again, which said we are perfectly within our rights, within a reasonable distance, to observe an arrest. And yet time and time again, when you see people observing arrests, they're being harassed, pushed back by police officers. So it's interesting that Ken has now stopped. He knows his rights, he's the chair, he's vastly experienced of stop and search. You've stopped to observe, Ken. What happened?
So I then made some inquiry to ask the police why they had detained this young man. And I also, the young man asked me, I asked the young man if he wanted me to get him a solicitor.
Yeah.
And he asked me to take a number down for his mum or one of his family members to let him know what's going on. Now, again, the police decided to come along and was a bit nervous about that, but they didn't explain to me what their nervousness was. Because, Lee, I'm a reasonable person. Yeah. If you tell me this arrest this man for murder and therefore you don't want nothing going back because it may hinder the investigation, I will take that on board. But don't go on and say because you're the police, I have to just, you know, do as I'm told. Yeah. You've got to justify. You've got to justify it.
Let's say why you've got to justify it. Commissioner Dick and Sadiq Khan, the mayor, because this is a message primarily to you guys responsible for it. You've got to justify it because you've lost the trust of the black community. We've seen too many examples of disproportionate violence being used by police officers in the arrest of young people and black people, not just young people. 63-year-old Ras Judah from Bristol was recently arrested and tasered. Adult, child, or young person alike. You're not trusted. This is why you have to justify the arrest. So you've asked the officer, what's going on?
But more importantly, not on that. The evidence shows that 4 out of 5 of your stop and search leads to no further action. But the engagement could lead to that person who's been stopped and searched being scarred and alienate himself from society, and it ratchets up things. But So I decided to ask a question around what was going on here. Curiosity, and just to be, this is what I do. I go into that kind of mode. I must take it. The police officers generally, or the TSG, were civil and they answered my question. But one of them came from nowhere, came from somewhere. He wasn't part of the group, but he was a TSG. Just came along, and the first thing he's done, he didn't see the interaction between me and the police that were there beforehand. Came along and decided to try and knock my phone out of my hand. Wow. And then, you know, because I was writing down the number, and then secondly, push me in the chest. So when he pushed me in the chest, I said, listen, mate, well, you don't put your hand on me.
Yeah.
And to my astonishment, he turned and said, look, you just assaulted me by pushing me and headbutting me. No.
So you said they've tried to take the phone out your hand.
Then he pushes me.
Then he pushes you physically back. Yeah. He's not had any interaction with you.
None.
He's not said step away, sir.
No, he didn't step back or anything. Nothing.
Okay. So he's pushed you in your chest. At that point, that's an assault on you. In essence, you said, "Don't put your hand on me." What happens?
And, you know, he's turned around. But first of all, I would say it's not an assault on me, because I can understand police in certain situations pushing people back. They're well entitled to do so. And I would have no qualms about it.
Well, normally, I've got to ask you to step you back.
And then step back first.
Yeah,
no, that wouldn't work. No, you're right.
Yeah,
you're
and it's only when you don't comply then
you can push you.
You were pushed without any else.
And I stepped forward and said, look, don't put your hand on me. He looked me in the face and said, you just assaulted me by pushing me and headbutting me. I said, listen, mate, how do you think you'll get away with it? You've got your body cam on, right? There's no way you can get away with that. Yeah. And he turned to his sergeant or the other person and said, yeah, it's true. He attempted to headbutt me because he realised he's still got his cap on, right? Yeah. So if I headbutt him, what are you doing with your cap on? Okay, so he then started to change the story, right? You know, there and then. Right. But go. No, go on. But lo and behold, as it would turn out, he knew fully well he didn't have that body cam on.
Well, hold on, let's not go there yet. So, you've then been arrested, we take it?
Yes, I've been arrested. I've been put in handcuffs. I've still got my thumb is still numb from the way the excruciating pain. Because if they don't put it on properly, it can pinch it up. It can pinch on the nerve.
So let me just say that one click of the handcuffs means it's in ratchet mode. That means every time you move, it just gets tighter. 2 clicks means it stays exactly where it is. So
yes, and so I was in pain for some awful long time. We're talking about 3 hours, because they took me back to the Wood Green police station, and I sat in there in a custody suite while they wait to process me, and they couldn't take the handcuffs off of me.
Wow.
Right? In all that time, and I'm pleading with them to take it off, and you know what? It just didn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So here you've got somebody who's eminent in the community. He's clearly not a threat to anybody. He's clearly not a threat. He's made to sit in the station for how long? In 3 hours in handcuffs. That's humiliating, degrading, and I would say cruel and unusual treatment. Because there's no reason, once he's in the station and he's in the reception area, that he can't have the cuffs taken off.
That's right. So
how long were you detained?
So I was detained for about 12 to 14 hours.
Right.
But let me say this much to you, is that whilst I was being detained, the borough commander sent down a senior officer.
Who is the borough commander?
Helen Millichat. Helen Millichat.
Helen Millichat.
She sent down one of her senior colleagues to ask me to stop some community activists, right, including Stafford Scott. I put his name out there because he's he's on it. He's on the ball. And he's a good man, right? Yeah. Who said that they were going to come down because they're concerned about you holding up one of our community reps, right? And you know what? You know.
So what did she ask you? She asked you to do?
She asked the senior police to come down to ask me, can I have a word with those guys who want to come down and demonstrate outside the police station.
You've been arrested, falsely arrested. People have turned up to protest, and the police are asking you to talk to them to calm them down.
Yeah, the police they're coming. They're saying they're coming down to protest. She wants me to stop them coming down.
Right.
Right. But I tell you that reminded me of Mandela and de Klerk when he was in his cell. Yeah. And de Klerk must come saying, "Look, mate, Mandela, we need to stop the Zulu warriors from coming down. You know, I mean, we need to have them on." That's what it felt like.
Well, it's outrageous, really, isn't it?
But the thing is, Lee,
they could have stopped them coming down by simply bailing you immediately.
That's right. So me, with my goodwill self, stepped in and did just that, thinking that they would have realised there's a mistake, misunderstandings occurred that got to here.
Right.
But lo and behold.
So you had faith, even at that point, that listen, somebody's going to wake up and understand that it's been a big mistake, and therefore, if I show I'm willing to engage, then it'll dawn on people somebody's made a mistake here.
And not only that, I didn't want things to escalate under my name. Right. Because, we can be kind of volatile people. Yeah. So the last thing I want to happen in this situation is for another uprising occurring, because we know that things just escalate from there. So my simple thing was this, just to not looking for anything back on that, but I'd have thought that would have been part and parcel when they look at the film.
It would show then that you're a man of good integrity. I wouldn't have done it. I'd have been making phone calls to get people down to the station. I'm going to tell you straight from now. But let's hear what so you made the intervention. You were still detained for 14 hours, so obviously didn't have any material effect.
None at all. and not that, when I was called to have my interview, it came at like 4 a.m. in the morning.
Wow, this is where you've been interviewed by police.
But the police. Yeah. And what's extraordinary about my interview, for that low-level sort of assault on police, you usually have a low-level sort of ranking police. Yeah. But they brought in one of their top detectives to grill me at that level. And not only grill me, what they've come, I've going into the interview only to find out I've got another charge on top that I knew nothing about.
Which was?
Which was the obstruction on the same police officer who made the accusation.
So assault and obstruction.
Obstruction.
Okay.
And I stood up
like they're trying to move you up the charge scale.
They're trying to ensure that they get something at the very least. Because obstruction is a wishy-washy. You can get that from doing something innocently.
Failing the attitude test is what we used to call it back in the day.
That's right. Making a police job more harder than what it is. Hello? How many people do that in my job? Right? But what can I do? I can't do.
So you're being interviewed by this top-ranking murder detective or somebody from the flying squad, or equally inappropriate. So you're being grilled now at 4 a.m. in the morning.
That's right. For an hour and a half.
For an hour and a half on this petty charge.
On this petty charge, but I'm still consistent.
They wanted you really bad.
And they did.
They wanted you really bad. They sent a senior officer to try and make sure the job was done.
That's what I will surmise from there.
So what happened?
That they don't make no mistake. So anyway, I got a release on further investigation, but the fact of the matter is, then a couple of weeks later.
So you were bailed?
Yeah, I'm bailed. Yeah,
to come back.
Not bailed until they've under further investigation.
Okay.
So then what happened is that 3 senior police officers from Enfield rock up at my house. To deliver me a letter.
So they came to your house?
To my house. 3 senior police officers came to my house at 9 o'clock at night to deliver me this letter that they could send by first-class post.
Yeah.
So how much time and money are we spending for these 3 officers to come and have a good look at me? I don't know if it's a blonde dread that really wanted to see, but...
They really wanted to get this guy. They're leaving no stone unturned. They're throwing heavy senior police resources. They wanted to send him to jail. What happened when they turned up?
So they turned up. They said they gave my brother the letter to say that this was for me because I was out at the time, and what it was me being charged with assault and obstruction.
So why would they send 3 senior officers to do that? I've never heard. You got your charge sheet personally delivered.
Yeah, I usually find that when you go to the police station,
that's the charge. That's the charge. Because you read your rights and everything.
That's right. No, nothing that nature.
So you weren't read your rights when you were presented with the charge because they delivered it by hand to your house.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I've never heard
that's right.
of somebody being charged at their house by letter. It's unprecedented in my experience, but maybe it's a new form of policing practice. Who knows? You might know. Leave a comment below. Tell us.
Not even Cliff Richard had that. so maybe I've got one over him.
If you want to be charged by appointment, book now with the Metropolitan Police Service. They'll hand deliver it to you. So you've had this, you've been notified that you're charged, and presumably you're off to court.
Yeah, I'm off to court. Now,
can you believe it at this stage?
No, I can't believe it.
I spoke to you and you were in a bit of denial. You didn't think they were going to take it to court?
No, I didn't. No way. Because I said, once they see the body cam, the footage and everything else, everything will be fine. Little did I know, as I said beforehand, the person who made the accusation, lo and behold, didn't have his body cam on.
So we discussed this before. So you've now gone to court. So you're in court charged. You're in front of a magistrate. You didn't have a jury because it was a low-level charge.
Right.
Is that right?
That's right.
So you have a stipendiary magistrate.
That's right.
And where did you appear?
We prepared Highbury Magistrate.
Highbury Magistrate.
On the 12th and 13th of September.
And so you went there thinking, my goodness, they're going to go through with this. But presumably you thought, when we get to court and the evidence is, the judge is bound to knock it out.
Well, even at that time, I knew that the policeman who made the accusation didn't have his body cam on.
Right.
But what I also knew, that the police sent 25 minutes worth of body cam and
from all the other officers,
all the other officers, the CCTV and the back of the police van, which came to about 25 minutes full of footage. But lo and behold, what we were able to do was to piece together that 10, 15-second interaction where this supposed to have taken place. But we can show all of that on film.
From different angles.
From different angles, from the different pieces that come together. So at no time was I off film. But so what was able to do was able to piece together what took place.
So you were on film all the time?
All the time.
So somebody in the Crown Prosecution Service who's making a decision about whether they should go to court, what you're saying is they had all the evidence in front of them to suggest this man's not guilty from the get-go.
Absolutely.
And yet you've still ended up in court. I make this point because of this, because when it comes to black people and race, what you find is that evidence doesn't really count for much. We're being prosecuted and charges put upon us even when the objective evidence shows you that the charge couldn't possibly be true. And Ken's is an illustrative case in that point. So you've ended up in court in front of a magistrate thinking maybe this is going to be all over today.
Yeah, I was thinking, you know what,
walk in, walk out.
I'm going to walk in, walk out of this because, it's on film.
It's
I've read, but, and what they've done, they've got 7 police officers to come to give evidence. Now, lo and behold, listen, hear this out. None of the officers, other than the one making the accusation, saw what happened. Said that we didn't see what happened. We weren't, even though we were there, our cameras or nothing picked up on that. So there's only one person's word that this happened, and that one person hasn't got his camera, his body-worn camera on. All the others have theirs on. Right. And so what I'm saying is, but yet when the other 6 came to court, even though they couldn't say that they saw me anything but they saw, what they could do is to then to skew my whole personality.
Yeah, as if you were aggressive.
I'm aggressive, I was determined to do this, I wasn't listening. But the film doesn't show what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty about the body cam footage, is that it can also
when you can
exonerate you. When you can get it, that's right. Because hear this out.
Yeah.
Even though we went to court and we asked for all the unedited footage so we can make our own video, they turned around and the judge said, okay, yes, we can have it. But some senior Crown prosecution person turned around and said, no, we're not giving you anything else. We're just giving you what we just sent you. I've never heard of that.
I've never heard of that.
Do you understand? I'm not telling you, we still haven't seen those unedited footage.
So not only the Crown Prosecution Service putting a man in the dock to face a charge in a British court, knowing that the objective evidence doesn't bear up to the charge itself, but now that CPS are deciding what evidence and it should be given or indeed withheld on this occasion from somebody who's facing charges. That cannot be possibly right, and we'll explore it further, I'm sure. So you're in court now.
Yes.
And let me tell you about this loading up thing with police officers, because I think that's important.
Yeah.
They're sending 7 police officers so they can paint the picture of a big, black, dangerous, aggressive black man. And so they're hoping that the magistrate in the dock is going to think, okay, you're sending self-officers, I get the message. Yeah, I get the message. This man's to be jailed or found guilty regardless of the evidence. That's the psychological ploy and trick. And that is said, that is how the police are able to send messages to the magistrate that, look, we really want this guy convicted. It's a low-level charge, whole bag of officers giving evidence. So what happened on that court day? Because you must have been looking for an acquittal.
I thought definitely that I was going to get an acquittal. But you know what? When I went into that courtroom and I saw the attitude of the stipendiary judge, magistrate, you know, it was quite clear to me that something ain't
She's sitting alone?
She was sitting alone.
Yeah.
There was something weren't quite right about what was going on. Because every time, like the Crown Prosecution Service was coaching the police officers through their this evidence, so-called evidence, when it came to my solicitor to then cross-examine them, she cuts him up, don't go there. You know, she was sharp with them, make sure that, you know, he didn't get anywhere, making it quite clear that these are people who are above reproach. I don't know, but maybe it's for the same lodge, I don't know where it is, but something is going on there, right? But the simple thing is this, that it wasn't justice at its finest. It wasn't the law. I've been, you know, on many different sides of going through to court for many years as a defendant, in the public, as a witness, all these things. So I know what kind of energy, and I can tell you that that was not healthy. What was going on there? It wasn't being fair, and it was to ensure that I get convicted.
Well, you know, we say that we're all equal British citizens under the sun, equal before the law. You know, the great claim of British society is that we're all equal before the law. We're not all equal before the law. Ken's case proves it, but so does the case of Gwenton Slowly, Mohammed Ashi, Stafford Scott, and I could name a whole host of others who have been subject to this differential justice. It's one law for certain people, it's entirely another law for us. And this story illustrates it. So you were found not guilty? Guilty?
I was found guilty on both accounts.
So you found guilty of obstruction?
I'm guilty of assault, even though it was quite put out to the stipendiary magistrate that, you know what, if you've got any doubt about what you're looking at, let's go back and revisit it.
Yeah.
She said, no, I know what I saw. That's good enough. Like, for example, she said, oh, because of your action being there, it caused the person who was trying to get in the police van to act up. When it was quite clear, I was under arrest, being arrested, and he was still kicking off.
Yeah.
Right?
How does that work?
How did that work? Do you understand? So, but, you know, so it was what it was. And
so you were found guilty?
I was found guilty.
You must have been, how did you feel?
I was devastated.
You must have been.
Because you know what it meant? Because it quickly dawned on me, it had implication on my income, on the work I do in schools, on my security job, on my community impact work, which has been the chair of all those things. Because since that happened, this all seemed to wash their hands from me.
Oh, so you're not Mr. Popular anymore with the statutory agency?
No statutory agency, not even with the media. You know, they're all backed away. You know, all because of the word of one police officer.
Corrupt. Lying.
Look, I'm not even going to go there because you know what?
At the end of the day, if you make unsubstantiated allegations against an individual, knowing it to be untrue, that's a corrupt act. There's no other way to describe it. I know you're very generous to the police, but if somebody's going to make malicious allegations, right, that have the effect that you were just describing on individuals, that is corruption in its purest form. It's malicious prosecution. But carry on, how did it affect your family and everybody?
But you know, I will leave that to others to decide for themselves.
And I'm deciding right here. Judge Jasper, that officer's to be suspended, sacked, right, immediately. Cressida Dick, take note.
Besides, I'm one for forgiveness, okay, because I get above that.
I say an eye for an eye. I'm very First Testament Bible territory, okay? People don't learn when they're given an opportunity. But nevertheless, you were found guilty.
Yes.
You were devastated.
Devastated. Fine, given a £675 fine.
Yeah.
You know, and a conditional discharge. Now, again, that threw alarm bells up straight away, because how can you get a conditional discharge for assaulting police?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the thing is usually stepping up.
Yeah.
Some sort of community sanction, meaning community service at the very least. Yeah. And this was given to say that, like to say, I throw you a crumb of relief, to say, yeah, go on, you accept that, because if you mess with us again, then you know what? We're going to have more harsher sanctions.
Absolutely.
Because you take it to the Crown Court, the onus of severity is ratcheted up. It gets much more, you know, expensive and everything else. It's all aspect of it.
So you thought that was a sentence that was designed to intimidate you?
Yes.
From not interfering with anything again?
Yes.
Not making yourself... Yeah, okay.
That's what I believe. Now, people can say that's your paranoia, but I can tell you that I didn't have enough paranoia the first time round, so I got found guilty. So that's what I would say.
I can verify that, because he was hopeful beyond hope, and I was preparing for the worst. And I think, you know, you can hope for the best, but always prepare for the worst. So you had trauma, your family had trauma, it's likely to affect your business and your career, and so on and so forth. And so your legal team decided that what? They're going to appeal the judgment. They're going to appeal the judgment. Right.
They're going to appeal the judgment. We put forward for legal aid. We got it turned down. Now, again, ordinarily, to get to the Crown Court, it costs thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to get, like, again, my income it was below the threshold to get legal aid, and that is £12,000. So it shows you that's how wealthy I am. Okay, and yet they still turn me down for legal aid. You understand? And so it meant that if I didn't have good relationships with my legal team, then I could not have taken this forward on the basis I did, because I haven't got that disposable income.
So it's important, really, and we should give that. Who is your legal team? They deserve a shout out.
Yes, it's ITN, ITN Solicitors.
ITN Solicitors, we thank you for your...
Simon Natus, particularly Simon, who's one of the partners. Listen, Simon, you have been a wonder to me. You've been my superhero.
We want to give them ITN Solicitors a boost up, because we're always happy to hear when people are trying to do the right thing. So you've set an appeal, they've denied legal aid, but you've still got your legal team intact.
That's right.
And yesterday was your big day.
It was.
Quite an auspicious day, because yesterday was the official Martin Luther King Day in the United States. So they were celebrating King's life. That's the day that you had your appeal.
Yes. And
where did it take place?
Look, you've got to understand, this is all work. This is not about us, physical us. This is about all the unseen us. The universe working its magic.
Yeah, yeah.
You understand? Because that's why it brought me there at that space on that day in front of that judge, who was very balanced. Now, first of all, I know his name is a QC called, his surname is Phillips, who was the judge, and he had two magistrates with him, and it happened to be a black woman and a black man. Not to say that makes any difference, but it was just extraordinary to see that sort of
change
in
so
in
did
a
you
Crown
feel
Court.
the change in the atmosphere from the magistrates when you went to...
Absolutely, because within half an hour of things opening, I felt relaxed. I thought, you know what? This is going to be my day. Even at lunchtime, because I've got this group who's been supporting me, the Right Fight, who's been there from day one. I messaged them saying, you know what? I've got a good feeling about today, because it's like this judge here is a fair judge. You know, because he was asking probing questions, unlike the magistrate that was shutting it down every second. So my solicitors of 20 years experience couldn't get a proper foothold. Couldn't put it out there. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I saw the different energies, and not only that, I also saw the terror on that young police face. He came in there like white as a sheet. But by the time he's finished cross-examined, not only by my barrister, but by the judge, he went out like a lobster. You know, because it was just so the pressure and everything else, and the stress on that,
trying to hold
the line, and not being doing it. I'm not doing it very well, because everyone's sitting in the public gallery. Because I have to appreciate everyone that rocked up for me. We packed that court out. And you were so immaculately behaved that, you know, the judge didn't send you out. so pick you up.
It's a good job I wasn't there, isn't it? No, it sounds like they were a fair judge, and you got
it was a fair system.
So what was the result?
So again, listen to this. I didn't even have to go in the witness stand. At half time, that's after the prosecution gave their case of my assault. And the judge, my barrister, told him, say he wants this thrown out because there's no case to answer. And lo and behold, the judge agreed with him.
Wow.
You know, so it means that all my witnesses and everything else, my big speech and everything else, you know, I kind of, I groomed myself just for that space, and you know what? It was a bit of a letdown. But I forgive you, Judge.
You didn't get your day in court.
I didn't get my day in court.
But you did get not guilty.
I got not guilty on both counts. Not guilty on both counts.
Wow.
That was, you know, it means that, because that was scheduled for 2 days, so that means that we cut it in half.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that, what did the judge see that the CPS couldn't see?
Or the previous magistrate?
Or the previous magistrate couldn't see?
Or the police officers themselves? Because some supervising officer must have reviewed the charges in this case. They must have. So you get found not guilty on Martin Luther King Day. I think, some skin for that. For real.
I'd take that.
I'd take it all, man. It's well meant. Tell me something, because you've seen the series. An officer lied to try and convict you of a crime that you were not guilty of. What does that tell us about the state of relations between the Met and communities?
Well, what it tells us is that they're putting too much credence on single people's word without having independently having that evidence tested.
But isn't that the CPS's job?
So to me, that's the core thing, because anyone that put that to the test, and I will put out that 2-minute video, and I'll put it out some stage there to show you exactly what I'm talking about.
You're going to hear on Media Live. We're going to put that video out. That's the video of Ken being arrested. So stay with us on that.
Yeah, so we're gonna have that, make that put out there so you can see for yourself.
Yeah.
Because the state of community relations, and don't get me wrong, because I've been having dialogue for the last 20 years, and I will put it out there. There's no other alternative but to engage. What I've realised from what's gone on with me is the terms and conditions that I put on that engagement. Yeah. Because if it's not going to lead to nothing, then why bother to sit down with people who just see you as a tick box exercise? They're getting paid and you are getting screwed. I'm getting screwed. That can't continue. We've got to have that fair playing field where it means something. Because you know what? You keep people like me broke all the time to make sure that I'm not resourced. But what you don't count on is how resourceful I can become.
With the support of your community.
It was the community that stuck behind me.
That's right.
Where's the establishment? Where were you?
Yeah.
I'm not saying, all I'm saying to you, those people, you know who you are. Yeah. You need to reflect on your part in what you've done here. That's all I'm saying.
Because here we have a man whose record is impeccable. He's not, he doesn't have the same kind of reputation as me, but he's worked with the police to try and make things better. And all those statutory agencies that loaded him up and gassed him up and said, yes, Ken, we're glad you're here today. When the shinola hit the fan, my man only had his community to provide him with the necessary support he needed. Everybody else, all them fine talking people in suits and boots, disappeared and weren't here to be found. So you were found not guilty. How you talked about the relationship between the Met and the black community. I would suggest, and I'd be interested to know if you'd agree, I would suggest that what I'm seeing as a former policing director is that relationship is in crisis. Is that too strong a word?
I would say that's too, because I say it's a critical stage in where we are, because I like to look on more the positive side of things that we can tweak and make things work. But it's got to have that real dialogue going on. And the fact of the matter is that if people are so concerned about safeguarding their political future or getting up the ladder, that they're going to expand fairness and justice and reasonableness out the window, then you know what? We're not going to get any further. We're just a stone throw away from the next major public uprising that's going to go on, which is avoidable. Yeah, I avoided a number of riots that could have possibly happened after the Mark Duggan coroner's inquest, which came up with some bizarre thing. But nonetheless, my energy went in to stop a reoccurrence of the violence. I wasn't successful the first time round on the 2011, but I was close to the action. But to show you that my thing never stopped, because I know at the end of the day, the people that end up getting worse on all these kind of uprising, is my own community. Through gentrification that takes place in all those areas.
Broader issues, gentrification, something that we might try and tease out for in another series of videos about the process of gentrification, very important. So here we have Ken, model citizen, working to give the benefit of the doubt on the partnership boards of every statutory agency that you can think of that is important in relation to stop and search and improving community relations. Doing it at his own financial expense, nobody's paying him, out of pocket, and despite a 20-year period of doing that, finds himself maliciously accused, falsely arrested, and an attempt to prosecute him for a crime he could not and couldn't have possibly committed. And the objective evidence shows you that. Now, where we differ is that I think we need to take a tougher line with the Met. I think it's a crisis. I think he's right. I think we can describe it as a crisis. And I think if people like you are facing these kind of actions, then it's time that we really brought matters to the table of all of those who matter. What do you think is the way forward now? Given your experience, will you continue to do what you do?
I will continue to do what I do, but what will change is the way I will do that.
Right.
How I did it yesterday and what I've learned this day is not the way to take it forward.
Because it's not the first time you've sued the police.
No, in 2009 I sued the 2004 I sued the police again under wrongful arrest on something similar, stop and search yet again.
Yeah, what happened on that one?
And that one there, I got found not guilty, but this time at the magistrate court at that level there, and I ended up getting 22,000 in compensation. but it took 5 years.
5 years, 22 grand for a false arrest. The last video you saw, we should have the information about the previous videos underneath. Stafford Scott got 10 grand. So if you are suffering from these kind of malicious prosecutions and racist police, that's what I think it is, racist policing in relation to the Met, that you can get your day in court and get some compensation. So you've done it before, you've done it again. Which way forward now?
But the way forward, I believe I'm reaching out for those in those ivory towers, like Christopher Dick and Sadiq, to the mayor for the Welfare Office and the Home Secretary, and the Prime Minister. Because you know what, Prime Minister, I'll tell you this. You was one of my heroes because of what you did as a Home Secretary. You was the first one to tell the police if they're not going to use it properly, they will lose it. This is around stop and search. So I will always hold you in high esteem for what you've done there, because you didn't pull back from 1.2 million stops and search now down to around about 165,000, which again needs still fine tuning. Nobody says we want the violent people off our street, but we want you to be able to measure that this is what we're doing. Because at the moment, only 4% of people carrying knives or gun each month are stopped and searched. We need better targeting of those people, and you can only get that from the community intelligence, and the community intelligence has to come from that community that's disproportionately affected by the violence, and that's a black community. So how do we do that? I strongly believe, and I will go to my grave believing this. I'm working towards my dying day towards this. It has to be effective communication, effective engagement that has got transparency, has got fairness. It's no longer acceptable for you to call us and pick us up one by one and have us up there where we are disadvantaged financially and every other way, so that you keep us weak, that we don't strengthen. Because when we don't strengthen, nothing changes. We have to look towards having these uncomfortable conversations that need to be had. Because right now, as I said, I didn't know yesterday, but I do know today that what needs to be done. And I'm the man to help drive that along with people like Stafford, Gwenton, and Mohammed Hashish, who again, what a great talent Mohammed is. And you know, Lucian, you're lucky to have a counsellor with that kind of talent. Lambeth, well, don't lose it, because whatever it is, you know what? That's a great man with a great potential.
Well, you heard it here today with Lee Jasper and Ken Hines talking about his case. A great victory. He was found not guilty of assaulting a police officer. We've spoken about the case. We've spoken about the broader issues. And I would say this to Cressida Dick, the Commissioner of Police, Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, the Greater London Authority Policing and Crime Committee. It's one of the most useless bodies for accountability I've ever had the misfortune to view. Not even taking any issues of police racism or its relationship with black communities in London in the last decade, such as its political reluctance to get involved in these issues. So to all of those, I'm the Home Secretary. Hear what? People like Ken and others want to avoid civil disturbances on our street. What happened to him are the kind of things that will ignite civil disturbances on our street. My own view, for what it's worth, is that the Met and the Mayor's office need to be brought to the table by consistent political pressure from our community that pulls away all advisors until such time as they're ready to talk sensible, in which case the kind of conversations, constructive criticism and dialogue that was mentioned by Ken think can take place. But I don't see them being at that point. I don't see the culture of the Met currently, where institutionalized racism is getting worse, being conducive to proper ethical conversations. And so the message is this: we should be having a crisis meeting. All these kind of people who are involved in negotiating with the police, liaising with the police, trying to make things better, we should have a crisis meeting with the Commissioner, Cressida Dick, with the Mayor, Sadiq Khan, and if necessary, the Home Secretary himself. But you've heard it here first. We'd like to once again congratulate Ken.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting us into your lovely home, and catch up again with the next set of Lee Jasper interviews.
Can I just say, I want to say to all those who've been supporting me throughout this horrendous time, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and it will never go unforgotten. And I'm doing this work for people like yourself and for our children and their children.
Okay, well, you heard it here from Ken. This is Lee Jasper on MediaLive.net. The Lee Jasper Interviews channel. Subscribe, like, comment below. If you comment and get engaged, we'll come on there and give you an argument, give you something to debate about these issues. But what we do agree on, even though we come from slightly different political perspectives, is that the relationship between the black community and the police in London is in crisis. My name's Lee Jasper. We're out of here. Peace.